We're back for the second half hour of the action-packed show this week. You're listening to one of the fastest growing, most logical and reasoned radio shows being broadcast today. This is the Patrick Reagan Show live. Yes, live, not recorded. Live here on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network. We're also being broadcast locally from our home base here in Knoxville, Tennessee on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. Just kind of jumping on into the segment here. One quick note I want to make real quick, one quick note I want to make quickly is that a lot of the flu's been going around and a lot of people are sick. A lot of my friends are sick. So I wanted to play them a little thing here just for everyone out there that's sick.
I heard that you were feeling ill, headache, fever, and a chill. I came to help restore your pluck, 'cause I'm the nurse who likes to...
Hey, there we go.
Gotta love Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's for everyone out there in bed. All right. Have you ever thought about just how much our government divides this country? This is the problem with government sorting people into different groups and not treating everyone equally. We have all these groups that are fighting for their piece of the government money pie. They want special treatment and all the perks and dividends that come with it. So you see, it pays for everyone to try and identify as a member of a group, of a minority, if you will. It pays for someone to be in one of these groups because it brings with it special perks and recognition and privileges that aren't afforded others, such as employment, freer speech rights, as well as money and access. So we have these people who are self-identifying themselves as part of these groups in order to curry favor from the government and businesses and society in general. And these groups aren't achievement-oriented groups. They're victim advocacy groups. If they were achievement-oriented, then they wouldn't be looking for special favors or money. They'd be promoting people's achievements based on their individual initiative. Don't confuse this concept with something like the, quote, achievement awards given by these victims groups and organizations. They aren't to celebrate individual achievement so much as to celebrate the achievement of a member of their group. This person isn't a high-achieving American or even human. They are a high-achieving member of their group. In order to get more members of this particular group and get them to achieve, we need even more special privileges and grant money to accomplish this goal. And the government's more than happy to encourage this sort of behavior. In fact, it practically mandates it. The reason is because it's easier to pit one group against another while the government goes along its merry way of violating everyone's rights. Hey, you old elderly people, those young voters are trying to take away your Medicare and Social Security benefits. And you younger minorities, these limited government people are trying to take away your right to vote. Just look at what happens when a pro-government group gets together versus a pro-individual group. When minorities overwhelmingly vote for the Democrat Party, that's just better participation of normally oppressed groups of people. When the Tea Party votes in pro-individual and limited government candidates, well, then America is in crisis. Heck, even the Republican establishment doesn't like Tea Party people because they're not all on the government solutions bandwagon. This is part of the problem I was talking about during the last segment, this whole revolving door between businesses and government. People get all mad about that. Businesses are getting special tax breaks. Businesses are getting sweetheart loans and grants from the government. Lobbyists are getting their clients special exemptions and treatment from Congress and the government in general. Most people don't agree with that practice. But then it turns out almost 50% of Americans are on some sort of government aid or subsidy. 50%. But if a company is getting special treatment, oh, well, we've got to stop that. But I want my special treatment and money that comes to me for being part of a special group of people in this country. Don't you dare talk about cutting any of that back. If you do, you're a racist. or a sexist or a homophobe, whatever we have to call you, to make you back off my special government money and privileges. It just proves that old axiom. Either there needs to be less government corruption, or I need to be a bigger part of it. Unfortunately, most people are wanting to participate in that second part. They don't mind corruption and constitutional violations as long as they're getting theirs. All these people screaming about corporate welfare, but then turn around and demand their own welfare or subsidy. It's this kind of hypocrisy that I rail against on this show week after week. And both sides are guilty of it. Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives, they all want to use government to benefit their ideas and causes. They want to use government to force others to live in a way that they think is correct. No matter whether or not you might happen to agree with them, doesn't matter. They think they know better, so you have to live with it. Look, all government aid is the receiving of stolen property. Government takes money at the point of a gun. If you don't believe that, just don't pay your taxes and see who the IRS sends over to talk to you. After that, if you still refuse to give your money to the government so that they can give it to someone else in the form of charity, then it will confiscate your property by force, no questions asked. But the government forcibly takes this money from you and gives it to someone else. You do that, and it's robbery, a form of stealing. If I pulled out a gun and took any amount of money from you, even if I was using it to buy groceries for someone else, it's still armed robbery. But when the government does it, well, that's just taxes, and you owe that other person receiving that government aid anyway. Now, what kind of country allows that? I love throwing that argument back up in people's faces who tell me that Obamacare is constitutional and right. They'll say, what kind of country doesn't provide medical care for its citizens? Or all advanced societies and countries give medical care to their people. I immediately ask them, what kind of country takes money at the point of a gun, essentially robbing its own citizens, only to hand that money over to someone who didn't earn it? What kind of advanced society condones stealing and the mandatory forcing of one citizen to pay the bills of another? That's an outright lawless society that would allow that sort of thing to occur, is it not? That's not an advanced country. That's tyranny. That's what dictators and kings do. That's all we've had mostly throughout history. Royalty, or what claims to be royalty, taking money from the people making it. We look down on a king or leader who steals from his or her own people in order to enrich themselves and their cronies. But if they steal money, put most of it in their pockets, but spread a little bit around to the people who didn't earn it, well, then that's okay? What kind of psychopathic person would say that's the hallmark of an advanced civilization? Advanced civilizations respect individual rights. And one of the most important ones is to be able to keep what you earned. You earned it, so you can keep it. You aren't entitled to what someone else has earned. How can you make that argument? You can't. Advanced civilizations don't provide medical care at the expense of someone else. They don't make one person pay the bills of another person. That's what occurs in backward civilizations. As I just pointed out, if the king makes you pay his bills, that's wrong. But if the king makes you pay his bills and some of your fellow countrymen's, all of a sudden now that's okay? What kind of crazy reasoning is that? Our country was the anomaly. Our country was the one that started out with freedom and liberty. It said if you earn a good living, you are free to enjoy the perks that come with it. You didn't owe the king money. You didn't owe your neighbor part of your earnings. It was yours. That's what made this country great. Not government, freedom and liberty. Other countries had governments, but weren't anywhere as successful as we've been in. So it isn't government that did it. It was freedom. That's the key variable we had and they didn't. Oh, dang it. I'm out of time for this segment. Let's take a break, and I'll decide if I want to wrap this up in the next short segment, if we'll cover something else here. That's the problem, though, with only having an hour every week. There's a lot of stuff I just don't have time to get to, but we'll try after the break here on the Patrick Riggins Show and the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network.